Brett Kavanaugh, or Kavanaugh, I don't know how you pronounce his name, has, or the story surrounding this US Supreme Court nominee has virtually c- completely overtaken the political airwaves around the world, including in the UK here, where for the last couple of days it has almost been a bigger story than anything to do with Brexit. Uh, because from the outside, it simply just appears as if it is tearing the United States apart. You have this huge split pretty much down the middle, that is represented by this committee of people in Congress who are meant to be hearing testimony, and its initial purpose was to decide whether he was fit to be the judge, to be a Supreme Court judge. Uh, the weighting was 11 Republicans to 10 Democrats, and that split almost brilliantly reflects the split down the entire United States. And it's kind of painful to watch. And the reason I'm talking about it now is because, like I said, it has dominated news, even in this country, in a way that Brexit has done for months and months and months. So, I don't have any video. I thought about plugging up some video and then watching, or then providing my reaction to it, but there is so much that has happened that I would be sat here forever. I mean, you can go and you can have a look on YouTube, and obviously there are news summaries and things, and then there is the entire lot. There are 4 or 5 hour long clips, not clip really, of the testimony and everything that happened surrounding it. And this guy, ordinarily I would have absolutely no interest in being able to relate to Brett Kavanaugh, I don't, in any way. And to a large extent I probably still don't. But the way it has been portrayed in this committee, I find quite unpleasant to watch. You have the Democrats on one side who have leaped at the opportunity to criticise him for his fitness to become a Supreme Court judge, justice, whatever they're called. And then you have the Republicans who have looked at the process and are disgusted by the fact that it appears that he has been given very little notice about any of these allegations, and that all this stuff was known about weeks ago, and that the Democrats simply held on to it in order to delay the vote. And people have compared it to a similar situation in the early 90s. I feel old, but fortunately I'm not that old to remember it. I don't know anything about that. But it has polarised the committee, and it has polarised the country. And they have, up until today I think, they had been getting virtually nowhere. There had been 2 different sides, and it seems to happen a lot in US politics and the politics around in other countries as well, but mostly in the US. Whether or not this guy is believed depends on where your political loyalty lies. The Democrats on the committee, Democrats across the entire country think that because of these allegations, Brett therefore must be a rapist and unfit to be put in this position, to be nominated for it rather. And you have Republicans who think that the Democrats are simply trying to derail his nomination because of a bunch of allegations which you could argue have not been dealt with properly, and they've not been given fair, or they've not, sorry, I'm shooting this from the hip. They have not been properly investigated or identified, and it's simply a woman's word against his. Now, that's the problem with all these things. It always is usually one word against another. But regardless of that, the Democrats did hold on to this information for quite some time before they decided to act on it. And the Democrats were fairly sympathetic to, I can't remember her name, the woman who gave the testimony in front of the entire committee and essentially in front of the world, and were quite critical of Brett, whatever his name is. And conversely, the Republicans, it did look like, were very uninterested in her story. With the exception of, and I can't remember his name, Jeff Flake, who I think Jeff Flake is the chairman of this committee. I could be wrong, but he's a Republican who's kind of a bit of he will flip-flop with his views and what he does from one side to not just from one side, but he'll flip-flop from being more sympathetic to being more in favour of the nomination. This may not sound like a huge amount of sense at the moment, but the thing which really stood out, and I might put a link down to it just because it does chime, it hits home, is when he was confronted in the elevator, with a bunch of these women who were absolutely furious that Jeff Flake was about to go ahead and basically recommend that this committee approves his nomination so it can be taken to, I think, the entire House. And he stood in this lift, and I think two or three women confront him, and the cameras are literally all over it. They capture all of it, and they make such a sort of heartwarming case to him. It's basically saying, is this man more important than our respect? And I can't remember quite what they said, but if you listen to it, and I will put a link to some video clip with it, it would change a lot of people's minds. It would say, okay, before we nominate this guy, we do need some kind of FBI investigation. And unfortunately, that's what he decided was necessary. And then I think he had a tough time trying to convince other Republicans that the country is kind of, regardless of whether you support him or you don't like him, whether you're Republican or Democrat. I think there is a growing acceptance, and even from Trump, that there needs to be an FBI investigation. Indeed, actually, I think from what I understand, it's only the White House or Trump that can approve the FBI investigation in this way. So it seems to be happening. They've given it some limited scope, which I think it's a good idea because the thing's been held up for ages anyway. Hopefully, a week is long enough to still have a meaningful investigation into it. But I still come back to my view on this is, look, I don't like the guy really. I There's no way I'd want this guy being a deciding factor on social issues such as abortion and a load of other things which they will inevitably have to rule on in the future. Socially, I'm a lot more liberal, uh, but yeah, that doesn't that doesn't make him unfit to end up on that court. It just makes him someone you don't agree with. And obviously, these people's these women's stories need to be heard, and hopefully, the investigation does actually have the ability within the space of a week to investigate fully. I mean, on the face of it, I'm kind of struggling to see how a week will cut it. I think Democrats are probably going to be left still unhappy. The Democrats will be left unhappy, although they have managed to delay it a bit, where there probably won't be enough to delay it till after their midterms. The Democrats will be left unhappy that it's only taken a week. I think most of the women probably will be a bit unhappy, unless some big discovery is made, which I think is unlikely. And the Republicans, well, they could probably bite it if he still gets nominated, which I think, frankly, is, who knows? I can't see which way this is going to go. But I think the process. So my main gripe with this whole thing is the way, and yeah, okay, the way the woman, and I'm saying woman because I literally can't remember her name. Clearly, it was quite a trial for her to actually go there and say all of these things that happened. But some people only look at that side of the story, and I don't know. Maybe this Brett Kavanaugh bloke is a good liar, but I felt just as convinced by what he was saying and the way in which he was saying. Yeah, he has some weird facial. He does some weird faces when he's talking. But who doesn't? I've probably made some odd faces whilst saying and recording all this stuff as well. I don't know. But he doesn't. It doesn't mean that he is guilty, and it's difficult to prove. But the process has to be right, and it's difficult to concoct a proper process for accusations and apparent crimes like this, because it's usually just a very small number of people's words and testimony. But I can understand, and even the Republican guy was sat in the committee, and he said, I understand why you want to bring this nomination down at all costs. And he sort of paused. He said, I do understand it. But, and the but is, I don't think the Democrats have approached it in the right way. They should have done it earlier, and actually, if they'd done it earlier, it would have had more time. And you would have got maybe a more in-depth investigation into these allegations. And so it's so depressingly partisan that it's difficult to find anything down the road for this which really makes it less partisan. There is such a ridiculous divide that this whole issue has, it looks like it's polarised people that are already polarised even more. And I think both parties are to blame for that. Trump never helps with what he says. He says things he should really not say. on the run up to things like this. He undermines everything by commenting in public and social media. All investigations like this as he goes along with his own views and things like that. I mean, okay, fair enough. He's granted the FBI investigation, and he said, well, he found both people's evidence convincing. Who knows? Who knows or believes what Trump says? But is there an end in sight? I don't know. Anyway, so I thought I could ramble on about this forever. I've probably rambled on too long. This is 15 minutes according to this. But I could do a reaction video to it. I don't think it wouldn't be much of a reaction to the video as simply me saying these same things, but with a video on in the background. So that is kind of where I am with that. And with this channel in general, I've got a few new ideas. I'm going to try and do some things slightly differently. What I will do is I will divide up. I'll have two different playlists, one being essentially reaction videos and another just general thoughts. I don't know what to call that. The first one playlist obviously reaction videos. I haven't quite got to where the other one's going to be, and I will try and mix it up. I'll try and do some reaction to things, and sometimes that will work, and other times it'll just be, I've heard about certain things, or I've been thinking, and then I will try and express and expand on my views about certain issues. This one about the US was just because it's dominated the news. By and large, at least for the time being, I don't have any plan to comment regularly on what's happening in the US. Sometimes it's inevitable. Like this is such huge news that I couldn't, being someone interested in politics, I couldn't not comment on it. So this is my comment for that. I will probably try and do another Brexit related reaction video, and I'll try and give some type of intro and reason for why I picked them, because I think I could probably just do loads of reaction videos and not really being much meaning to them. So what I'm going to try and do with regards to the videos, I will essentially try and have a backdrop reason for me deciding to react to that, and I'll try and put it in a broader context as to what my views are and how the video at least allows me to express and just discuss my views in relation to the video. So that's essentially where I plan to go with that. So I apologise for rambling for too long. Maybe it is rambling, I don't know. Anyway, thank you for watching, and look out for another reaction one shortly. Thank you. Bye bye.